This tutorial looks at how you can start a project by using 2D images as reference. These can be blueprint style images, which are particularly useful if they have dimensions attached. And there are plenty of these readily available on the internet for existing car designs. Alternatively, they might be design sketches, either elevations or three-quarter views. But the elevations are more useful as these can be used in canvas planes. The three-quarter views are not so easy to use as reference and are better used on image planes instead of canvases. Essentially, any type of input can be used that's useful, as long as it's in a standard image format like a JPEG or a TIFF, and sometimes just a simple photograph is a good way to get started. I'm going to use some dimensioned images to set up 3 views of this small car using canvas planes. I'll start with a new empty file, and I'm going to work in the 4 windows mode, so I'll just use the F9 hotkey. I'll start by selecting the view I want by clicking in it so that I can see the white border. Then I'll do a File, Import Canvas Image, and in the option window I'll choose Create New Canvas to be on. And this is important when we use more than one image. So I'll pick my side view image, and that gets placed in the scene in the orientation of my selected view. The image has no particular scale, but there's a dimension here showing what it should be. So I'm going to create a cube and scale it to form an outline box. So I'll grid snap the cube to the center, and then I'll scale it to 3540. And if I zoom out, I can now get orientated to the actual size I need to be working at. So then I can just use Pick Object and scale up the canvas image. Now it's a bit hard to see the geometry, so I can use the transparency sliders to just knock back the brightness of the image a bit. And then I can continue to move it and scale it to get as close as I can just by eye. Now for a car design, I want the front wheel centered on the grid, and I have a 585 here as an offset from the front. So I can get the pivot of my cube over to this edge and then move it relative 585. So that now if I snap my cube to the center of the grid, I've got the right position. And I can now move the canvas image to match it, and I'll move it up as well so that the wheel is centered vertically. So if I go back to 4 views, I can now just move that canvas back and get it a little bit out of the way. And now I can bring in the second image. I've selected the view so that it's active, and I'll do a File Import Canvas Image again with new canvas selected, and I'll pick my front view. And now it's created a new canvas in the scene, orientated to that view. Again, it comes in at a random scale, but I've got the overall dimensions here, so I can refine my reference cube to having the right size. And I could have used any reference geometry, cylinders for the wheels, for example, lines, just anything that's a true size. So now I can size and move the image. And unfortunately you can't set a pivot point for a canvas, so you just have to shuffle it around and try and line it up as best you can. And now that I've got the box resized, I can go back to my side view and get that orientated as well. So finally I'll bring in the plan drawing into the top view, but this time I'll leave the new canvas setting off so that you can see what happens. I'll choose my image, but then nothing appears in that top view, and that's because it's been inserted as an image layer into the previous canvas, and I can see that if I open up the canvas layer editor. Here on the back canvas I have the new layer. And I can see that here in the window when I turn it on and off. So I can delete that layer and go back in and re-import the canvas image, this time specifying a new canvas to be created in that top view. So once I've got my canvases set up in my views, I can toggle them on and off using the Show menu, or I can put them onto a layer if I want to control the visibility that way. If I want to be very organized, I can rename each canvas, and I can do that in either the information window or in the canvas layer editor. So I'll just use the information window for now. And you can see that the names change in the view. And these names are normally displayed, but if I turn my layer into reference or inactive mode, then the name labels aren't shown. So this is a great way to get started on a project with lots of 2D reference to work from.